Okay, Chair, we're ready to go.
Right, we're starting now.
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, councillors, officers, members of the public and press. Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. This meeting is a remote meeting being live streamed on the website and recorded. I would hand over to Joe Stubbs, Democratic Services team.
Thank you very much, Chair. We'll start the meeting by way of a roll call to ascertain that members are in attendance. If members could confirm that they have received the paperwork and they can see and hear everything in the meeting. I'll start with Councillor Hall.
Yes, I've got the papers.
Thank you. Councillor Hunter?
Yes, I've got papers.
Thank you. And Councillor Loynes?
Yes, I've got papers and I can see and hear everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I just request that anybody taking part in the meeting has their microphone on mute unless they're speaking? That just helps to avoid any background noise. I'm not aware of any apologies, Chair, so I'll hand back to you.
Thanks very much, Joe. Apologies for absence. There is no apologies at the moment. To receive any declarations of interest by members.
Have none.
Okay. So we move on to number 3, application for a new premises licence on 116 York Road, Hartlepool. And we hand over to the Assistant Director, Ian Harrison, to outline the application, any relevant representations and relevancy to licensing policy and statutory guidance. Ian.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and good morning to everybody. This morning's hearing is in respect of an application for a new premises licence for number 116 York Road in Hartlepool. We're referring to the applicant this morning as Sagan. The applicant has applied for a licence for the off-sales of alcohol from the premises between 6 in the morning and 11 o'clock at night, 7 days a week. A copy of the application was attached to your paperwork as Appendix 1. Street view images of the property, shown on the images as Mark Lloyd's Jewellers, are attached as Appendix 2. The premises to which the application applies has not previously been licensed to sell alcohol. As background, the application was advertised in the prescribed manner and 2 representations were received, which are attached as Appendices 3 and 4. Appendix 3 is a representation on behalf of Hartlepool Borough Council in its capacity as licensing authority, highlighting that the hours applied for do not fall within those considered appropriate for a residential area. Appendix 4 is an objection from a resident of Hartlepool. As relevant representations have been received, a hearing must be held for members to consider the application unless all parties agree that one is necessary, but we're having our hearing today. The representation from the Council's Trading Standards and Licensing Manager highlights paragraph 4.27 of the Council's current licensing policy, which states, "The licensing authority does not accept that longer opening hours have been a benefit to Hartlepool, but rather that they place an undue and unnecessary strain on the local transport infrastructure, accident and emergency services, and law enforcement agencies, and creates a nuisance for those residents who are affected by the general operation of a premises or from revellers returning home during the early hours. Shops, stores and supermarkets will in general be licensed to provide sales of alcohol for consumption off the premises at any time when the retail outlet is open for shopping, but licenses for before 9 AM or after 10 PM in residential areas will generally be refused. In addition, licence applications for the supply of alcohol for consumption on the premises for before 9 in the morning and 11:30 at night in residential areas will generally be refused. In this occasion, Chair, because this would be an off licence, the hours in the policy would be 9 AM till 10 PM. The representation from Mr. Peter Joyce, attached as Appendix 4, refers to a number of issues surrounding the sale of alcohol in general. Having regard to the representations received, members may take any of the following steps for the promotion of the licensing objectives: to approve the application in its entirety, to approve the application in part, with or without the addition of further conditions, or to reject the whole or part of the application. The licensing objectives are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Members are reminded that they must only consider those aspects of the licence application that are relevant to the representations received. And the recommendation, Chair, is that members consider the representations made by the applicant and the objectors and determine what aspects, if any, of the application should be granted, and if appropriate, what conditions, if any, should be attached. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to answer any questions on the report.
Thanks, Mr. Harrison. Any questions from Ian Harrison from members?
No.
No. No. So we hand over to the applicant, Mr. Sugan, personally or legal representation, and witnesses where appropriate. Can you explain your application, Mr. Sugan?
You're on mute. Hello?
All right, Chair. If I can do that on behalf of the applicant, Chair, the agent, Suresh Kanapati.
Yes, please.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Chair. Right, Chair, I think, we heard about these applications. So what we are looking at here is promoting the licensing objectives of prevention of crime and disorder, public safety and prevention of public nuisance, and protection of children from harm. So as you noticed on the application, we have put a number of steps to promote the licensing objectives. In terms of prevention of crime and disorder, we said, we have like a CCTV system, it will be recording for 31 days. Anytime police or council coming, we will be able, the applicant will be recording and give it to them. And incidents records book. And also in terms of protection of children from harm, we have a challenge 25 and refusal book, all the other things, Chair. So that's regarding the promoting the licensing objective. Chair, in addition to that, I would like to give you a brief introduction to the applicant, So the applicant himself been in this area, been running business in Middlesbrough, in Redcar, nearly 15 years. They've been running a similar shop in, recently they sold it. They do as a family business, his father and himself, and his family together. Now, Chair, I think they have, they know this area very well, and they already have a large amount of experience running retail premises in the town centers, in the residential area, like that. And Chair, what I would like to bring to your attention is that in terms of, I just wanted to bring attention to the location of these premises. That's very important, Chair. I know there's, how do we, we don't see this is a residential area, from my experience, there are, the places classified as, town centers, shopping area, and a residential area. This place looks like, if I put an application in as London City of Westminster, this is how they look. They have like a residences upstairs, but we don't call them a residential area. We call them a city. So what I describe this area is a city, a town center. It's a high street. Along that, there are no side road nearby as well. So now, from my understanding, this area doesn't fall into residential area. There are residential area. If you go further down, there are no shop, 1 or 2 shop, and there are residents next door. There's no residences next door here, right? Except upstairs, obviously, the flats, and people choose to live in a town centers. That's who are there. Now I understand, Chair, there's only one residence put this representation. even then, I'm really questioning, Chair, the validity of this, this residence for a number of reasons. One is, okay, it is valid, it is valid because it's addressed the licensing objectives, but I think there is no reference to where this person lives. This could be anyone, anywhere, put their name and send something in, so we can't really reference that here. And he said, in town, obviously he said the town has too many premises. He didn't say it's a residential area. The town has a serious problem like that, and, ambulances, and these are kind of a generic problem. And I don't think it's been linked or addressed direct to this premises, so that's where we come from, in terms of these objections. And Chair, I would like to, we do get that, the licensing authority, there's a licensing policy, but again, what we are looking at here, so here it clearly says the shop and store and supermarket will generally be licensed to provide sale of alcohol consumption of the premises, retail outlets, 9 a.m. after 10 p.m. or after 10 p.m. In residential area, we are not saying it's not, we are saying it's a town center, it's a high street, and also those applications for supply of alcohol consumption on the premises before 9 a.m. and 11:30 p.m. generally. In a non-residential area, Chair, the application will be allowed to sell alcohol and supply of late night refreshment beyond 2 a.m., will normally be refused. So what we are looking at there is before 2 a.m., 2 a.m., like midnight, Chair, I think this application, Chair, is being, where the premises is located in a town center, and then be considered, so if you think about this is, Chair, I think it is a convenience store. So what we mean by generally in UK, wherever it is, normally, the convenience store, the people, I expect my local convenience store open between, 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. because that is my, but I know that Tesco may not be open that times, or maybe open. So the large store I'm talking about. So the convenience stores, generally, they open between 6 and 11 p.m., So I think in that sense, we put the application, we didn't put like a midnight, we didn't put like a 1 a.m. in the morning, we consistently, we want to communicate to the people who come to shop there, to have, okay, they know the shop is open between 6 and 11 p.m. and they can buy all the product, not just, one product, not like a two product, all the product, available. Now, Chair, I think that's why we are sticking to the 11 p.m. and I think it's fair, I think, but now, the morning hours, right? I'm just looking at, that I can't, I'm trying to see what would be the evidence, why these premises cannot be, cannot have a license, during this opening hours in the morning, right? Because there are, I don't think, from my evidences, there's no evidence here, or I couldn't see anything that people buy in the morning and drink on the street or things like that, So those are the consideration, Chair. I think obviously, I would like you to put the consideration, but that's what we would like to put through is, we don't see any evidences to have to not have the license, during this opening hours. So that's what I wanted to leave here, Chair. I think that's all my representation. And thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. Any comments or additions from Mr. Gustafsson?
Yeah, so the only thing I can say is that as from our experience, we've got two shops, and the one that we have in Grove Hill, the previous owner had he had it restricted at the time because of Lambrini wasn't allowed to be sold on that license. But since we took it over, and because of our track record of us refusing to sell to under 25 and people that cause a lot of nuisance in that area. We were given they accepted our application and they amended it and took off the restrictions that were on there previously. So we have a track record of keeping that neighbour, and obviously we want to be with the community, not against it. We do our bit on our side, and we've got evidence to show that with the shop that we have in Middlesbrough, where when it had a restriction on it from the previous owner and to us having it, and they removed the restriction.
Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, over to members. Councillor Brenda Loynes.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to clarify a couple of things that the gentleman from ACA licensing said about not being a residential area. I've lived in Hartlepool all my life, and I can assure you, York Road is the opposite side of York Road behind the shops. It is densely populated with residential properties. An awful lot of people live there. And also, I want to know why you want it from 6 in the morning till 11 at night when our policy is 9 till 10. What is the reason for you wanting it 3 hours earlier on the morning and 1 hour later on the evening? If you could answer me that, please.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I think it's further down the road. There is a road called Carlton Road. Into the residential area, there's a shop. That is actually, the shop is in a residential area, because inside that, if you look at that area, York Road, if you look at further down on the opposite road, if you go down, there are a few shops there, few retail commercial premises. So I would call that, it's right in the middle of residential area. So this is like a high street, where you're on the high street. Anyway, I'm not going to argue on that, because how do you, define the town center? If this is not, if it is a residential area, then why do we call people town center? Anyway, that's another matter. But, what I would like to say, why we wanted to sell on, like a 6 a.m. in the morning and 11 p.m. in the, evening. So, it's rather what we are looking at. Why not? If there's an evidences here, put forward, okay, there are people, buy alcohol in the morning, right, and then drink on the street, and then there is evidence to prove it's been happening, then okay, we will consider, okay, we don't want that to, support that, so we will stop selling it. But at the same time, in the evening, right, so there are other shops down the street, they're selling until 11 p.m., but that's another matter, but we are looking at here. So now between like 1 hour, so we're going to open until 11 p.m. Like, what we are looking at, don't sell alcohol after 10, for 1 hour, right? And people expect, the local people, residential area, people expect to, be able to buy until 11 p.m. all the product, and they would get upset really. And then if you look at it, none of these residences, they haven't put any representation here. Even the one we got, it doesn't really address. Even that person saying it's a, that, sorry about this disturbance. Even didn't say this is a residential area. So it seems to me, sorry, because I'm on a phone, people are keep going. Yeah, and it seems to me like, the residences are not really, concerns. It seems to me they are happy, their premises coming, they can buy, as it's a convenience store, they can buy all the product during their opening times, So that's what, we looked at. And also, remember, right, any pubs and bars and nightclub, that's beyond 11 p.m. So what we are looking at here is, 11 p.m. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Dave Hunter.
Thank you, Chair. Just a question following on from Councillor Loyne's previous question. I'm still not picking up any positive reason why this council should deviate from its policy of 9 till 10. Can you tell me any positive aspects of selling alcohol from 6 in the morning till 9 in the morning and after 10? and give me a valid reason why we would deviate from that policy.
Thank you for asking that questions. All that reason we already mentioned, about the experience of the applicant and all kind of things, right? In addition to that, why we want, what is the positive things, right? Because it's actually a support the local people. Because if you think about it, especially in this time, and the pandemic is going to be only for a short while, I guess, at least, But right now, people have the flexibility of shopping. That is the positive things for people to come, like a flexible time. They don't have to rush into, certain hours to buy things. Okay, they're always in their mind, they're free. Okay, if anything happens, so we got a shop, we can go and shop. But the thing, like somebody coming at 10 minutes past 10, and then we say to them, sorry, no, we can't sell alcohol, only other product you can buy, and then we don't see that is the positive things, because that's, really upset someone, really. But on the other hand, this 1 hour, and we don't see during that 1 hour, there's no evidence to prove within that 1 hour, there's going to be cause like a public nuisance or like a crime. If that is going to happen, obviously there's a review process where we can come and address that, maybe reduce the hours. We will do. Like applicant said, they've always been working with the authorities in the past. They have an evidence to work with the authorities, and they will either amend the hours, close the shop early. But right now, this premise is on a high street, and they have taken on a high rent. And then, yeah, so those are the positive effect I can add to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple of questions on the stock in the shop. We're talking about alcohol. What about the other stock in the convenience stores? What we sell or buy?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's so great. Thank you for saying that, because if you really look at these premises, and we are not looking at, this is not the alcohol only shop. Alcohol is part of it. So I would say, even the shelf space, probably about less than 15% of the space that's provided, the shop is going to sell all the product and services as well. The reason why they want to open like at 6 and 11 p.m., why do they want to open? Because the shop is providing like some other essential services like a bill payments, parcel services. They are operating as a parcel depot, and they do in all the other shop, and local people where the goods are get delivered there, and they pick it up anytime they want. So when they go and pick it up at 10:30 p.m. in the evening, and if they want to buy a bottle of wine, and then we can, sorry, we don't sell alcohol, at this time if we want 10 a.m. So not really we are supporting the community in that sense, but and also the all the other household goods, party product, they sell everything in that shop. And we are also happy if you want to put a condition to say, not to alcohol shouldn't be more than like 15%, the space, if that is the concern for you. But I think with the shop, because they're going to sell everything, so they will have a limited space for alcohol anyway. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. My other question about staff. How many people will be working in the shop? And that's been trained from 25 plus and CCTV. How many staff or employees in the shop, roughly?
Yeah, I think they have like four staff right now, and Sujan himself working full time, and his father, well experienced, and he's going to be there full time. And I think they just have 2 other part-time staff, they already worked in the other premises, so they have like a well qualified experience. And also they are all locally lives there as well. They've been living there nearly more than 15 years in the area. So in that sense, in the evening, so you want to tell about, the other shop when you were running in the town center?
normally from after around 5-6 o'clock, we normally send an extra staff, or me or my father or someone goes there, just to control. Obviously, one is because of the pandemic, and also because at that time it's very busy, and you have you have other problems. So we are normally there after 6 o'clock. There's normally another extra staff there, helping out with the customers, and also one will be on the till, one will be actually on the shop floor, making sure that everything is running smoothly. So there's always someone there on the evening to keep it going, and so that there's no other problems at the time.
Thanks very much. Any other questions? Okay. So we move on to the responsible bodies and members of the public. We'll take Ian Harrison, Trading Standards and Licensing Manager. Ian.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points, really. The objection that I've submitted, referring to the council's licensing policy, I'm not objecting to the license being granted. Just for clarity, I'm highlighting that the hours that have been applied for go beyond those which are published in the council's policy. In relation to whether this is a residential area or not, I would say that this is most certainly a residential area. There is a number of streets which are probably 20 yards away, literally on the other side of the road from the applicant's premises. There is Carlton Street, there's Dalton Street, there's Thornton Street. So my submission would be that this, although it has a shopping centre on its rear, on its front, it is facing a residential area. And just for a matter of clarity as well, if the subcommittee members were determined to keep with the licensing policy hours and only grant 9 in the morning till 10 at night, that doesn't require the shop to close. So the shop can remain open for whatever its planning permission hours allow. We're only talking about limiting the sale of alcohol to these times. So if members were concerned about the impact on the business, perhaps, or mistakenly thought that reducing the hours from 9 in the morning till 10 at night would mean the shop would be closed, that isn't the case. We're just talking about restricting the sales of alcohol to these times. And one final point, I think, by their very nature, convenience stores are there to serve their local community, usually, which in itself suggests that there is a community close by. And that's why I think this is in a residential area. That's all I have to say on the matter. Thanks, Chair, unless there are any questions.
Any other comments? And we've got the letter from Mr. Jones, written objection. We've got it in the papers as well.
Yes, Chair, there was the letter from Mr. Joyce, but Mr. Joyce indicated that he wouldn't be taking part in today's hearing.
Thanks very much. All right. Any further questions from members to the interested parties? Councillor Lyons.
Thank you, Chair. Just another point. As Ian Harrison's already said, it is a residential area. The shop in particular has always been a jeweller's shop, and I've no objection to it being a convenience store, whatever you want to call it. But there is a clock above the shop that says Lamb's Jewellers. That has been there since I can ever remember, and I'm quite old now. It's been there for years and years and years, and I just wondered what you propose to do with that clock. Is it going to stay there because it is a central point in York Road?
No,
everybody or will meet under Lamb's Clock and things like that. You know what I mean? Everybody knows Lamb's Clock, and I just wondered what your proposal was to keep it.
I'm just going to jump in there as well, and just to clarify, that's nothing to do with your licence application, though. So
just wanted a bit of clarity.
The clock's not being held to ransom or anything like that.
No, it's all right. Sorry, it's basically when the seller was obviously the ones that selling it to us. They said to us, "What do you want to do with it?" And I said, "I want to keep it because it's a symbol of of Hartlepool, and if I can, in a few in a year's time, I want to, I want to renovate it a bit, make it a bit better, but." I do not want to get rid of it. I want to keep it there, and I'm actually planning to probably name it the Old Clock Shop or something like that. I'm going to try and find the history behind it, and
Okay.
that's what I want. I don't want to remove it. That's 100%. That
That's
I've
good.
told my
Thank you.
yeah.
I know it's got nothing to do with the application, but I just
No,
it was
that even
worried
that's
me
a
a little bit.
personal thing. I didn't want to get
All
rid
right.
of it
Very
because I was
interesting
told the
point.
history behind it, and
Okay.
briefly. So
That's
that's the
fine.
reason.
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. So any other comments or questions?
So
No?
if I can say, Chair, as well as a final word, then I mean, if you allow me to do.
Of course, yeah, you can do
Is it
it.
the right
yeah,
time
yeah.
now? Oh,
Right.
okay, great. Thank you so much. Yeah, Brenda, I think that's great. I think I really appreciate because I'm like a, I've been talking about that clock. That's the person you asked me. That's the first question I asked him because I'm an antique person and I want to keep all the area like antiques, So I told him, please don't. But he said, no, we are going to move it. Anyway, thanks for asking. That's make us happy, all right. And then coming back to Brenda, I think, this is becomes like a very subjective, but I wonder, I mean, for me, from my experience, this is definitely a town center, the next door is a Yorkshire Bank, if somebody, I know that, I mean, if you look at, city of Westminster, right? I'm just talking, but we call it like a city of, it's a London city, it's a city town center, right? But there are, side road, there are residences living there, but we don't call it the high street is a residential area. We call them as a high street, it's a town center area, right? It becomes like a very subjective, right? And also I wanted to bring the attention, we don't have any other authorities here put an objection to it, like either the police or the environmental health or anyone else. So why? Because there may be not be evidences and they are really satisfied, talking to us and working with us, and also, the steps that we are taking. So I think, considering all these facts, it seems to me, what I wanted to bring that is I can't find any reason, why this premises cannot be, licensed, and where, there are down the road, inside the street, there are shopping provided license, like a 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So I just wanted to point that out, and as my closing matter. I don't know if Swanyan want to say anything. I mean, finally, it's up to chair then to handle that.
Thanks very much
No,
indeed.
that's all. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chair.
Any other comments from Ian Hursten?
Thank you, Chair, but no further comments from myself.
Okay, thanks very much. So at the moment, we'll go into closed session to reach our decision, and then we inform the applicant and the agents from the decision from the meeting after the live streaming. Thank you.
Yes, if I can just confirm that for the applicant, because you may have been to hearings in other councils since the lockdown started. What will happen now is that the subcommittee will go into closed session to make a decision based on